Last time I posted, I was researching suburbs, and that was about a year ago. A lot has happened since then. I bought a property, I used a buyer's agent, and I learned a ton of stuff. Let me show you. So yeah, I've been quiet. Life got busy, but also I wanted to wait until I had real data. Not just I bought it, fingers crossed. I wanted to see if the numbers actually worked, if the tenant showed up, if any of this was actually real. 11 months in, I've got answers. Now, before we dive in, I need to say this clearly. I am not a financial advisor. I am not an expert. I am just someone documenting what I am learning along the way. Nothing I share here is financial advice. Please do your own research, speak with qualified professionals before making any investment decisions. So, where did I buy? Regional New South Wales. Now, I'm not showing you the exact address or the property itself because that is not the point. The location will change over time, and what matters is why and not the street number. Here is what I can tell you: purchase price around $470,000, rental yield just over 5%, and a weekly rent of $470 a week. That is the headline. But the real story is how I got there and what I learned along the way. Let us talk about the buyer's agent first, because this was a big decision for me. I spent months researching, I made spreadsheets, I watched every YouTube video. I thought I was ready to do this myself. But when time came to actually pull the trigger, I froze. Not because I did not understand the theory, but because there is a massive gap between reading about property investing and actually spending $470,000 on something. So I called a buyer's agent. And look, they're not cheap. I paid around $15,000 for their service. That hurts. But here is what they did that I could not. First is they did all the legwork properly. I was stuck scrolling realestate.com, domain.com.au like everyone else, talking to agents who may or may not call you back when they have the properties. My BA presented me with shortlisted properties, explained exactly why they chose each one, and if I did not like something, they went back and researched again. No pressure. They would ask me why I was not comfortable, then they would refine their search and come back with better options. Second, they negotiated better than I ever could. The property I bought was listed at $480,000 and we got it for $470,000. That is $10,000 saved. Right there, they have already covered most of their fees, if not all. Three, they protected me in the contract. This was something I had never even thought about. They added clauses that gave me an easy exit from the contract if anything came up during due diligence without paying a penalty. As a first time investor, I did not even know that was possible. Fourth, they moved fast when it mattered. There were three other buyers interested in the same property. If I had been doing this solo, fumbling around, figuring out what questions to ask, I would have lost it. Was it worth $15,000? For me, yes, because I was not confident enough to do this alone, and that is okay to admit. Even beyond the property itself, having a buyer's agent taught me things I would have never learned on my own. The building and pest report, for example. I had no idea how to read one, and honestly, they are written in a way that makes every property sound like it's falling apart. My BA walked me through it, explained what was serious and what was standard wear and tear, and then got on the phone with the inspector to get the full picture. That alone saved me a lot of unnecessary panic. But the biggest thing, I had someone to ask questions. Not Google, not a YouTube video, a real person who knew the property, knew the market, and could answer me on the spot every question I asked became a mini lesson. The more I asked, the more I understood. And the more I understood, the better conversations we had. It stopped being BA tells me what to do and became more of a back and forth, a collaboration. And I think that is how it should work. And here is something really important I learned. Having a BA does not mean you switch your brain off. My BA made couple of calls I was not comfortable with. For example, the first one, they pushed me toward a property that on paper looked fine. Good yield, good area, ticketed most boxes. But something felt off. I could not explain it that time, just first time investor nerves maybe. They kept saying it's a solid deal, you need to move fast. Then the building and pest report came back. The main staircase was not compliant with the current standards. Now, apparently, that is not uncommon in older properties and it does gives you a leverage to negotiate. Fair enough, but here is where it went wrong. My BA asked the selling agent, the seller's own representative, to get a quote on fixing the issue. Now, that is a conflict of interest. The selling agent is not working for me, they're working for the seller. Weeks went by, the contract ended was getting closer. No quote, no update, no urgency. And on the last day of the cooling period, I said no. I gave that feedback directly to my BA, saying, you might think this deal is fine, but as a first time investor, I am not comfortable jumping into something with unresolved compliance issues and a quote source from other side's agent. They understood and we moved on. Now, lessons, speak up. Your BA has experience, but you are the one living with these for the next 10 or 20 years. If something does not sit right, just say no. The research I had done, all those videos, all those spreadsheets, it meant I could actually have that conversation. I was not just nodding along. I could ask, what is the vacancy rate there? Why is this suburb better than the other one? What happened if this does not get fixed? It became a real collaboration. And that only happened because I came in with some knowledge of my own. The second mistake, they recommended a property manager, and I just went with it. No research, no questions, a big mistake. My BA did mention to me that you can find a PM by yourself, but I guess I became lazy and just went with one recommendation without even doing any research. Within 3 months, the issues started. Slow responses, my tenant had reported a few maintenance problems, nothing major, but they took weeks to get fixed. Emails went unanswered, calls were ignored. I switched my property manager within 6 months, and the difference was immediate and obvious. Lesson, even if your BA recommends someone, still do your own research. Read reviews, call two or three options, ask them how they handle maintenance requests, what are their communication process looks like, because you are the one in that relationship long term, not your bias agent. Okay, so what is it actually like owning an investment property for 11 months? Here is the stuff no one really talks about. In 11 months, I have had three tenants. That is more turnover than I expected. It has not been a disaster. Each tenant left on their own reasons, but it reminded me that vacancy is real cost. Every time a tenant leaves, you are paying for advertising, potentially weeks or two of no rent, and the time spent getting someone new in. It just adds up. The property does not manage itself. Even with the property manager, you are still involved, approving the repairs, reviewing statements, making decisions on rent increases. It is not passive. It is less hands on than I thought it would be, but it is absolutely not set and forget. The emotional side is real. The first time I got a $2,000 bill for a repair, I panicked. Even though I had maintenance buffer set aside, watching money go out hurts. You have to get comfortable with that. It is part of owning the property. The learning does not stop after you buy. I'm still following the suburb, watching what infrastructure is planned, what the council is approving, what rents are doing, because if I'm holding this for 10 or 20 years, I want to know what is coming. All right, does it actually work? Now, here is where I am after 11 months. Purchase price was $470,000. Deposit of 12%, approximately $56,000. Total cash out of pocket, including other costs like buyer's agent, stamp duty, conveyancing, etc., approximately $90,000. Now, the loan amount is about $419,000. Mortgage repayment approximately $2,200, but this changed depending upon the variable interest rates. Monthly rent coming in is approximately 2080. Now, rates, insurances, property management fees is approximately $500 per month. So, yes, I am negatively geared out of pocket roughly around $770 a month before tax. Now, that is around $9,300 a year. Is that comfortable? Honestly, it is tight some months, but I own an asset that is growing and I am building something I did not had 2 years ago. Is it making me rich overnight? No, it is not. Is it working? Yes, it is working. If I could go back, here is what I would change. I would start talking to buyer's agent much earlier. I wasted months thinking I need to know everything before making a single call. I did not. The real learning happened in those conversations, not from YouTube videos or books. Research the property manager myself. Even when someone you trust makes a recommendation, that is your relationship to manage. Interview a few, ask the hard questions, and do not just go with the flow. Trust my gut more. If something does not feel right, even if you cannot explain why, pay attention to that. Your buyer's agent has experience, but you are the one who has to live with the decision for the next couple of years. Stop waiting for perfect. I spent a lot of time looking for a property under $450,000 that ticked every single box. It does not exist. When I adjusted my thinking, the right property appeared. And truly, I had to do some compromises like the age of the property, appearances, etc., as I had to stick within my budget. So that is my story. I bought a property, I used a buyer's agent, the numbers are working just about, and I learned more in 11 months of actual ownership than I did in a year of research. Am I an expert now? Not even close. But I am one property further along than I was a year ago. And for someone who was paralyzed by research and self doubt, that is something. If you are sitting there right now, analyzing, researching, waiting for that perfect moment, just start the conversations. Talk to a broker, talk to a buyer's agent, talk to someone who has actually done it. Because the gap between knowing and doing is real, and the only way across it to move. Next video, I will talk more in detail about the mistakes I did and the reasons why I changed my property manager, because that is a whole another story. Drop a comment below if you are on the same journey too. I would genuinely love to know where you are at.